You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, WrestleBoss with Bobby Chulo.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. For the people listening to us, you're here. You're at WrestleBoss with Bobby Chulo. Don't forget, you can check us out every Tuesday from 7 p.m. till about 8:30 or so. We usually go a little bit under that, but last week, as everybody knows, it just completely cut off at 8 o'clock. I was like, we're talking, Gustavo Lopez was talking about the UFC, bam, and everything just kind of shut off. So hopefully that won't happen today. And we're checking out, and it was actually something that was going on with Blog Talk, so hopefully we'll be okay today. Huge show today, and as you know, we've been trying different co-hosts on. So when I was talking to Kevin, I said, hey, I think somebody that would be really good for it. And on the line with us right now, she's going to be able to hang with us for most of the show. Candy Girl herself. Candy Girl, how are you, my friend? Real quick, before we get going, how are things going right now? I mean, this quarantine's got to be – I'm going to be honest with you. I was talking today to my daughter when we were driving home, and I was like, man, now, like before it was no big deal. I was training, trying to get myself in shape, getting ready for wrestling to come back and all that. But then it's been so long, I was like, today it kind of hit me that, like I can't even look forward to going to go see a show, let alone go do a show or whatever. So how about yourself right now? Because the last time I saw you was at Compton Mania, which was, I think, like at the beginning of March or whatever. So it's been quite some time. What have you been doing since this whole quarantine? And do you miss it, or how much do you miss it?
I actually took a couple months off around the holidays just to kind of recharge. Wrestling is such a year-round sport. It's not like basketball or football where you have a season. It's just all year long. You just got to be ready to go. You never know you're going to get a call. So I took a couple months off during the holiday, and I came back in March after a few months. So I was ready to go. I had got my rest. I felt rejuvenated. And then that's when the whole pandemic and quarantine happened just right after Compton Mania. So I was really bummed out about it. I miss wrestling just like anybody else, thinking that this is just going to be a month and then 2 months and then 3. And now who knows where we're going to be after July 4th. So I'm just bracing myself, no expectations, just got to roll with the punches.
Yeah, that's what a lot of people are trying to do. But real quick, too, I want to talk a little bit about training and coming up as a female in the world of pro wrestling. But before we get to that, don't forget, for the people listening to us, don't forget you can always check out Lucha Central. That's where Kevin puts everything up after my show's over and everything. So make sure you check that out. We got Superboy coming up at about the 7:15 mark. Going to talk a little olden days, little Michinoku Pro. And I want to talk to him a lot about Christopher Daniels because he was doing the Courierman gimmick back then, and it was really, really super hot. No pun intended, but it was super hot. And then at about the 7:45 mark, we're going to have Ricky Mandel. He was Ricky Mundo for a little while in Lucha Underground, and I think he's since moved to Vegas. I saw him on the show where he wrestled Ziggy Dice and actually 1,000% knockout Nicolette did the turn and ended up going with him. So we'll talk about that in a minute. But I want to talk a little bit about that Compton Mania because I'm going to be honest with you. I've worked for Sean Black before at Amped Up when he does it for the kids over there in Inglewood. So my daughter was booked on the show, and I wasn't booked, and I was like, well, I'm going to go check it out because I hear a lot about it. And they were saying, well, it's a backyard or whatever. So right away when people say it's in a backyard, people start thinking, oh, it's, hardcore and it's going to be whack or whatever. But when we got there, it's not actually in a backyard. It's kind of like a side yard, for lack of a better term. So we get there, and there's a huge, like a garage that almost looked like a barn, and it was humongous. I mean, there was more room. Yeah, there was more room to get dressed there than there was at least 90% of the shows that I work. So when we went back there and Candy Girl herself, this is one thing with me because I've done many shows and put on many shows. She was there early. I would say on time, but she was actually a little bit early, which was good because as a promoter, I like when they're there early so we could talk about things and, they're ready to go in case we have to make some changes or whatever. You're like one of the first people there. So that was pretty cool. For the people listening to us on WrestleBoss with Bobby Chulo, talk a little bit about that show because when I actually went out to see Nicolette wrestle, the place, I'm not going to say it was packed. It was probably maybe 30 to 35 people paid. But the crowd was hot. The ring was huge. I mean, Martin brought the big ring that actually fit in this side yard or whatever. And for a smaller show, I mean, it was pretty good. I mean, I have to admit, that it was a lot different than what I'm used to. So you wrestled Auntie Heidi on that show. So real quick for the people listening to us, talk a little bit about that. First of all, about are you used to something like that where it's a kind of a side yard where there was a few people, but the crowd was pretty hot? And then second of all, wrestling Auntie Heidi, and kind of explain a little bit for the people, Auntie Heidi herself.
Yeah, so first I'll start by saying the hood has a lot of hidden gems. That's for sure.
Yes.
I think when people think of Compton, they think of, what's on TV, and then you go there and there's like a horse farm and all this land, and definitely, like you said, a bigger locker room than I am used to having. Yeah. So Compton Mania, Sean Black, who is a SoCal wrestler, he's the promoter, the booker, who's also doing that. Also does Amped Up, has reached out to me a couple years ago wanting to do an initiative in the, in Inglewood area and in the hood, just because there isn't a lot of representation there, and there's a lot of fans. There's just people that are ready to jump on something that's going to make them feel good, that's going to entertain them, that's going to take their mind off things, just like, what we look for in entertainment. So that was actually my first Compton Mania. It was the first women's match in Compton Mania history. So I am looking forward to many, many more. It's a great show. Auntie Heidi is someone that you look at her and she is the opposite of me. I mean, I'm in sparkly pink.
Yes.
I'm 5 foot tall. I'm, not even 5'1", 5'0". She's taller, she's bigger, she's stronger. So I think that for a lot of folks who maybe were just curious to what was, what show was happening in the area, maybe they weren't fans, right away, they can see the image of me and her, and it can register what's going to happen, right?
Right.
That I got a big obstacle in front of me, that I got a lot that I got to do, and I think that that's something that anyone can understand of any age. So that's what we're hoping to do, not just get people that are fans, but get more fans behind what we're trying to do.
Yeah, but I got to tell you, that crowd was super hot, and it turned out to be, for lack of a better term, super, super entertaining. I mean, it was just a really good time that was had by all. I had a lot of fun there, and I wasn't even booked. I had a big show at Lucha Libre Alliance the next day, and I'm old. I said, man, if I cannot do 2 shows back to back anymore. Before, back in the day, used to be able to do, Friday, Saturday, and sometimes twice on Sunday. But now, man, if I have a show coming up, and I told Sean, I said, dude, I'd love to work, but man, I can only do 1 show on the weekend. So that being said, I've worked for Sean also at Amped Up at the facility that he works at, and that, the first time I was there, it was so nice too, because you kind of get dressed in the pool area, which is cool, just to be covered, and it has a jacuzzi. And it was funny because the first time we went there, Nicolette and I, and they were like, wow, there's actually a bathroom and a shower at this place or whatever.
I know, we're so spoiled.
Yeah, I mean, those, for the people who don't understand independent wrestling or whatever, little things like that are kind of huge. I mean, it's just cool to be able to, if you want to get in the jacuzzi afterwards or whatever, and just kind of relax, or even just to be able to change in the stall if you want to or whatever, it kind of makes a huge difference. So I thought it was pretty cool.
Now, huge difference. Yeah.
Especially when the promoter takes care of you, because they also bought like pizza, and they had chicken, and you could see everybody when they brought, they're like, oh, that's for us, and they're like, yeah, man, we took care of you guys, and everybody was like, all right. So that show, Amped Up, that's where I first met you, as the Amped Up show that was over there at the facility. So who did you wrestle on that show? I remember. First of all, I remember seeing you wrestle. And then there was a slight altercation in the back. You don't have to talk about that if you don't want to. And I was like, what's going on? They're like, well, that's Candy Girl. I said, oh, my God. So who did you actually wrestle on that show? Because that's the first time that I actually met you.
Yeah, that was at the Ability First venue here in Inglewood. I wrestled with Eliza Hammer.
Okay, yes.
I think Sean does a good job of bringing just a bunch of talent that is different. I think that's why the show is just so entertaining, because sometimes you can go to a show and maybe 1 or 2 matches were entertaining, but I feel like the show from beginning to end just kind of works together, because there's a little bit of everything. You like lucha, there's a little bit of that. You like a little bit more story, there's a little bit of that. You like a little bit more comedy, there's a little bit of that. So it's definitely a good locker room to be in. And I think whenever you put a bunch of people that are wanting to do, the best that they could do, it's always going to be interesting evening. It's never a dull moment, definitely.
Yeah,
and talking about just the space and everything, people might just like, why are they spending so much time talking about that? But I remember some shows, you know, you think sometimes that there's a name behind it or something, so you think there's going to be a little bit more, you know, nice
upscale
benefits. I've had to change in very random spots. And what people don't understand is the show starts maybe like, 7, 8 p.m. You have to be there like 11 a.m. to start putting the ring together, putting the chairs together. So by the time, especially girls, I can't go with, you know, my makeup ready. By the time that I'm done putting the ring together, my hair would be like down to my feet. So it's nice to have, you know, to go, you know, put the ring or do whatever you can do to help, you know, however early you can get there at the show, and then have a shower or a bathroom, you know, just for females and just for males to freshen up. So I think that's why we're so hung up on it, just in case anyone's like, why is the ring is such a big deal? It really is, because it's an all-day affair. That's why when you consider working 2 shows back-to-back or 3, you really are giving up your whole day. It's not just the evening.
Yeah, exactly. And that show in particular, it was an outside show, and it started to get dark. By the time that last match went out, Sean was like, all right, man, we're going to cut it down to 8 minutes because it's getting dark or whatever. So that had a lot to do with it. But we're going to talk a little bit more about that. I want to talk about female themselves in the business, because, you know, my daughter has been wrestling too, and, you know, she's in the business. That's why because I was retired and I came back, you know, just to do a few spot shows here and there with her, just to get her to kind of like know the business, for lack of a better term. But I want to expand a little bit on that and talk a little bit about that more with Candy Girl. But we got Superboy coming up, and before we get to that, Candy Girl, hang on just one second. Before we get to Superboy and talk a little bit more about that, let's see what Denise Salcedo has to say about what's going on with Lucha Central.
Hey everyone, it's Denise Salcedo here in Lucha Central, with a look at all of the great shows available this week on the Lucha Central Podcast Network. Monday, it's a brand new masked cast with Dos Hermanos Lucha. The brothers are back with their latest advice on how to build the ultimate Lucha Libre mask collection, including what Facebook groups can really help you up your game. Tuesday, it's Masks, Mats, and Mayhem, the show that brings you back into and behind the scenes of Lucha Underground. This week on the show, more behind-the-scenes secrets are revealed from 2 of the show's Day 1 luchadores. Plus, the gang discusses the current success of former Lucha Underground stars Karrion Kross and El Hijo del Fantasma, and takes a look back at Season 1, Episode 6. Plus, this Friday, look for a bonus episode of the MMM show focused on Pride Month, including a special interview with former Lucha Underground and current AEW star Sonny Kiss. Also on Tuesday, brand new series Wrestle Boss with Fabi Chulo debuts on its regular night with a live call-in show covering pro wrestling and MMA from 7 to 8:30 p.m. Pacific. Then, each Wednesday, the show will be available for download on podcast platforms. The first episode is up now and features interviews with former CMLL, Ring of Honor, and Lucha Underground star Ricky Reyes, Bellator fighter Rick Hahn, and Combate America SVP Mike Aframowitz. This week's guests will include former XPW and Wrestling Society X star and current owner and operator of the Santino Brothers Wrestling Academy, Joey Chaos. With SPW graduates in nearly every major promotion at this point, there is a lot to talk about. Don't miss WrestleBoss Live on Tuesday night and in podcast format on Wednesday. We've also got more live recordings for you on Wednesday as Spanish series La Mesa de los Márgaros brings you their unique style of news and comedy along with special guests. Watch as they record their episode on Facebook Live and then download the episode Thursdays. Also on Thursday, it's Straight Out of the Bodega with Papo Esco with special guests PWR Training Academy graduate and AEW star Jungle Boy Jack Perry. Papo and Gabe talk with Jack about his training at the Academy, his time in the NorCal indie scene, and his signing with AEW. On Friday, we've got the #1 Lucha Libre show on the U.S. charts, Lucha Central Weekly, and the #1 show wrestling-related, period, on the Mexico iTunes wrestling charts. Lucha Central Weekly en Español, with Lucha Libre slowly returning to Mexico and shows this past weekend from both DTU and IWRG, plus luchadores all over WWE programming these days. We've got 2 packed shows for you. Be sure to subscribe and follow all of your favorite Lucha Central Network series on your favorite podcast platforms. And please be sure to give a rating and review to help more fans find the shows that you love. For now, this is Denise Salcedo signing off from Lucha Central Central. Have a great week.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. Denise Salcedo eating that pizza. I see if you check out her social media, she's talking about trying out some pizza and talking about how much she loves it. But anyways, that was nice of her to give us all the lowdown on Lucha Central. For the people listening to us, you're here. You're at WrestleBoss with Fabi Chulo. I got Candy Girl with me. If you want to call in, if you have a question for any of us or Superboy, who's going to be coming on right now, you can always call 323-870-3387. Again, that's 323-870-3387. Hopefully, I sent Superboy a couple texts. Hopefully when they don't text me back, I'm like, oh God, please let them be able to come on. So hopefully he'll pick up and we'll be ready to roll. If not, he's in big trouble. Sergio.
Yes, sir.
Can you hear me? It's Fabiano.
Yeah, I hear you fine.
All right, but you had me sweating for a minute, but real quick for the people listeners, don't forget, you're here at WrestleBoss with Fabi Chulo. I got Candy Girl as my co-host today, and on the line with us right now. Whenever I have something going on that's new, and I want to make my show legit, this is the first person I call. The man himself, Superboy Torres. Superboy, how are you, my friend?
Hey, man, pretty good. Thank you for having me, for the invite. It's always a pleasure, man. It's always good to reminisce and talk about the old times, and not only about the old times, but everything that's coming up and everything that's happening today, man. Thanks a lot for the invite.
Well, first of all, I had Patrick Howitt, Letty Rivera, on with me last week, and he called Superboy the miracle of modern science. That's what he said. I've never seen anybody.
Wow.
He makes me laugh because on one of my old shows, I played it. He's going, the man is amazing. Back flip, front flip, side flip. He goes, he is a miracle of modern science. So not only that, but when I say, of course I know Superboy, and they go, you don't know him. Just stop. And I'm like, no, I'm serious. We worked with him. We even took him with us. Then they go, nah, stop. So anyways, I got a lot I want to talk about because it was funny because, I was doing, mixed martial arts radio, and they let me throw in, the luchas or whatever as long as I brought it back. So when this COVID happened and they pulled the plug on it, Kevin Kleinrock was nice enough to say, hey, look, man, come over here, dude, do a pro wrestling show, and it could be half pro wrestling, half MMA, and it'll be great. I'm like, oh, perfect, man. So it's been rolling.
Man, that is awesome.
Then. Yeah, but so well, I wanted to get Superboy on because it's funny because I was working for Lucha Libre Alliance because I had been retired for a while, and when I got back, the first person I saw was Superboy. I think he brought Legacy or whatever to come and work, and I saw him, so we were able to talk, and Platanito was there, and it was great. But I saw Antonio. Antonio comes in the back. Same Antonio from years ago. Had a cigarette hanging out of his mouth, and he was bringing the gear for the Chivos or whatever. So the story that comes to mind is when Superboy was he was hot, man, back then. We were working at All Nations. And first of all, I was scared to death, and Superboy was one of the nicest people that actually, helped me out. Him and his brother, Capitan Oro, two of the nicest people that helped me out a lot, which they didn't really have to. But it was funny because we got to be friends. And I don't know why. I just happened to be at your house. I think we were trading some RF videotapes or whatever. And it was late at night, and you were leaving for Japan the next day, like at 5 o'clock in the morning. And you go, dude, Antonio was supposed to make me some gear, and he never showed up, and I don't know what happened. He's not answering his phone, and I don't know why, but it was already close to like maybe 1 o'clock in the morning or something, and we hear a knock at the door. And I go, dude, somebody's at your door. And it was Antonio. He brought that gear at like 1 o'clock. Do you remember that?
Yeah, no. Not only that, but like, this happened every time I went to Japan. But, you know, he was nice enough that time to come over to my house. But, you know, I would go to his house at 3 in the morning. He would call me like around 3 in the morning to, hey, your gear is ready. I go, oh, shit, I would go pick it up and then drive to the airport from there.
Yeah, it was
funny. Amazing work, man. He is so awesome. You know, he never took measurements. He would look at you and just, you know, get the measurements by just looking at you. And it was incredible because some of the nicest masks that I ever got was from Antonio because they fitted like a glove, brother. They fitted like a glove, and it was just something else, you know. And thanks for Antonio, man.
Yeah, and it was amazing back then because All Nations was far and away the hotbed of Lucha Libre back then. I mean, they used to do shows that were just freaking packed, man. So we would have the shows there, and Capitan Oro and Superboy were super hot back then. But the thing that always sticks out to me is when we went to San Francisco, we started working for Incredibly Strange Wrestling, and we went out to San Francisco, and when Unholy was my partner, he said, hey, I'm gonna bring Superboy and I'm gonna bring Capitan Oro. I said, shit, they're gonna steal the show, man. And he's like, yeah, but I want. So we went to make a good impression, and we took you guys out there, and this is where I had the utmost respect for Capitan Oro, and hopefully he doesn't get mad because I tell this story, but I don't think he can care either way. So this is how it was back then. And Candy Girl, I know you're over there. I'm gonna get, you know, we're gonna bring it all around, but Candy Girl's my host right now. I'm sorry, Candy Girl, say hi to Superboy real quick.
No worries. I didn't want to interrupt, but it was very nice to meet you.
No, likewise, it's a pleasure. Big pleasure. Thank you.
So we get to the airport, and this is before all that TSA and all that stuff. So Capitan Oro says, hey, Fabiano, come here. I say, he goes, do me a favor. Go to the Burger King, get the biggest size soda that they have. Fill it with ice and just put about half of Coke. And I'm like, oh, okay. So I come back. He pulled out a liter, not a small bottle, but a liter of Jack Daniels, and filled it up. And then our plane got delayed. You remember? So he said, hey, go get some more ice. So I went. So he had probably two drinks or whatever. So we go to get on the plane, and the plane was empty because we're just going from LA to San Francisco, and there wasn't very many people. So we start walking towards the back, and there was a little morenito that was asleep by the window. So I go, he goes, hey, sit over here with me. So he sat next to him in the middle seat, and I sat on the end. And I'm like, what the hell are you doing? There's plenty of room. He goes, hold on. So we take off, and the waitress comes, and she goes, would you guys like anything to drink? I said, yeah, I'll take a Sprite. And he goes, yes, and I'd like a Coke, and my friend over here would like a Coke too. The guy that was asleep. So she goes, okay. So she comes back, and she gives me the Sprite. She gives him the Coke. She hands Capitan the soda for him. He says, thank you. Puts it on his tray, pulls out that liter, pours two drinks. So we had 2 drinks. I go, this guy's freaking genius. So that's not the end of it. We get to San Francisco, and Audra, remember she wrestled as La Chingona or whatever. That was the promoter. So she comes and she goes, hey, man, I got everything for you guys. I got beers over here, whatever you guys want or whatever. So Capitan takes a look, and he sees all the beers, and he goes, do you have any hard stuff? And she goes, yeah, whatever you want. Bam, gets him another Jack Daniels, Jack and Coke. And I'm like, man, this guy's he's going to be messed up by the time we get. So we went out there. We went over some spots. Never missed a beat. I mean, not one, man. Torreada, the hip toss, and boom. It was beautiful. It was beautiful. So we had, I think he had 2 more drinks after that. And then Audra gave us money to get a hotel, but we were out of there maybe 2:30 in the morning. So the plane was leaving at 6. So we said, let's go to the airport. So we went to the airport, and we stopped and got sandwiches. And Capitan Oro, we were laying down in the airport, and he still, I think he had already switched to coffee. No, I think he still had a drink. So he was laying down like that, and he'd fall asleep, and then he'd wake up, and he'd take a bite of the sandwich, take a drink, and fall back asleep. And this guy is freaking amazing. So we got home, right? Sunday we were wrestling at Antonio's at All Nations, and I said, there's no way that this guy's going to make it. So Piloto Nuclear, he got all busted up, and James was fixing him up. And here comes Capitan Oro around the corner with the beer in one hand. I mean, that was the one time that I had the utmost respect for, because never missed a beat, man. That guy. And honestly, now that I have you on the show and we're talking about that, I think Capitan Oro was one of the most underrated luchadores that was in LA, because he helped me a lot, man. He got me. It was funny because finally, after about 4 or 5 times of us all going out to San Francisco, he said, "Hey, you're finally starting to learn how we wrestle or whatever." So, do you remember any of that? That's Sergio.
Oh, most definitely. And you hit it right on the dot. He was one of the most underrated wrestlers in LA because he was a big dude, heavy dude, and he also, man, he managed. He was a high flyer. He managed the ropes. He did everything. We went to a few places where people kind of laughed at us when they saw it, and they were saying, "Este pinche gordito, a ver qué va a hacer," And then we tore down the house, dude.
Yeah.
And we had a few shows where Sabu was the main event, and he goes, "Oh shit, here comes Capitan and Superboy." He goes, "Why don't you guys take the main and we'll take the semi?" Because you guys are gonna rock it. Yeah. It was like that. But yeah.
We went back, and Sergio, the Unholy, he's the one who had the booking, and he couldn't make it. He had to work. So he said, "Hey, can you take the guys up there, whatever?" And I said, "Yeah." So we took Piloto, Suicida, with us. Oh, my God. They didn't even want to let you guys back in the locker room. They couldn't even get – the people were going so crazy that they couldn't even get back to the locker room. The people wouldn't even let you. I mean, they were so over because you and him had been working – for quite some time. So, man, he was doing, the maromas, and people were looking, oh, my God. Yeah. And it was huge. Such good times back then. But real quick, for the people listeners, you're here. You're at WrestleBoss with Fabi Chulo. I got Candy Girl co-hosting with me, and we're talking to Superboy Torres, talking a little bit about going to San Francisco and things. I want to talk a little bit about going back to All Nations, because here's one thing that I had been wanting to talk to Superboy about for quite some time. We were working there for a long time, and James Macias Sr. was one of the guys that helped. He used to oh shoot, yeah, I gotta tell this story. I'm sorry. He used to have a house in Azusa, and Antonio, when he would bring the luchadores from Mexico, instead of having them stay at a hotel, he would have them stay over there at the house. So but he would have a big barbecue, or he would make like mojarra or whatever. So Superboy was there. He had brought his kids, who are wrestlers now, but they were little kids, and he had a garage full of memorabilia, masks from Mean Máscaras, and all the little monitos from AAA, all real nice and whatever. So everybody was drinking, and it was like that. So Superboy's kids were opening the packages and putting on the máscaras. So I go up to Superboy, and he was getting ready to leave. And I said, "Hey, man," I said, "do you have your kids?" He goes, "Yeah, they're right here." I go, "Man, don't let James know, but they opened up all the packages and they put the máscaras." So I go, "Come on, I'll show you." So we walk in there, and he sees all the stuff all over the ground, and he turns to the kids and goes, "What's wrong with you guys?" He goes, "You know I'm going to get drunk. You're not supposed to be playing with the toys." Okay. And they turned around and left. But James was, he's like, "Hey, man, if it's Superboy, it doesn't matter or whatever." But anyways, we used to have some good times over there too. I mean, it was really nice. But anyways, James is one of the guys that brought me into All Nations, and that's how I met Superboy. So there's this white kid that James kept talking about. He kept telling Antonio, "Hey, bring this kid, Christopher Daniels. He can go with the luchadores or whatever." And he was like, "What?" So he said, "Just try him, dude, or whatever." So he brought him down, and he started working. So the point I'm trying to make is, nowadays guys go to school and they stick with one school, and they 2 or 3 matches and they think they're somewhere. But Christopher Daniels, coming from wherever, Chicago or where he was from, to come to All Nations and speak no Spanish whatsoever and work, he turned out to be like one of the best guys we had over there,
Well, you know what? Yeah, I met Christopher Daniels, and he was hungry. He was hungry for the business. I was looking. I met Christopher Daniels the first time at I think, remember when Bill and Jesse had their gym in San Bernardino or Fontana somewhere?
Yeah.
Okay, the first time I went down there to train, he was head of the, he was in charge of a class. That's where I met Chris Daniels, and then later on, I kind of met him at Manas with Antonio, and a few places, and he great worker. And always hungry for the craft and everything. And he asked me, hey, you know what? I want to go to Japan. I go, yeah. I'll tell you what I tell everybody else. Get me some pics, get me a cassette, and I'll take it. Yeah. I'm not gonna drop it off at the office. I'm gonna give it to the matchmaker, which at the time was Ted Tanabe, the referee.
Yeah.
I'll give it. And they looked it over, and the following. This was like 95. By 97, he did his first Japan tour, and the rest is history. He did WCW, ECW, WWE, and he just about did everything out there that could be thrown at him. And again, and you just hit it on top. He went to different schools, different places, trying to learn from everybody else, and that's the way you did it back in the day. You would go to, in my case, I would go to Tijuana, I would go to, L.A., wherever it was, and just trying to get that network, trying to get, the feel of different people. When I started traveling, it was so easy. It was so easy because, you knew your craft and you knew what you were doing, and, you took it out there to the next level, and it was awesome. It was great.
And he was confident in your skills. Go ahead.
I said, so I got to ask you, Superboy, because, as someone that's in the SoCal scene, we understand how big your contributions have been and how things are changing now. So there's so many different paths to get to the level that you want to be. How important, talking about Japan, do you think that's important for a local wrestler to hit those marks, like Mexico and Japan and their career? Because things are changing and people are finding alternatives, right? But there's still a lot of value that maybe people are not seeing in the way that it was done before. So how important do you think that is for someone that's trying to make it in the scene now?
Well, it's very important. Like I said, I'll say it again. You either go to Mexico. Back in the day, you would have to go to Mexico. These are the three key places you need to go to become a good wrestler or become famous. Well, first of all, was Mexico, Japan, and Germany. Once you hit these three spots, you had a name for yourself and you were groomed. And nowadays, it's very important. Unfortunately, with everything that's going around, and I hate to say it, but values in lucha libre or wrestling have gone down so low. That it's very hard. Now if you want to go to Japan, you have to pay your way down there. And see if you can book and see if they'll pay you. It's very hard. But if you're hardcore, you like this business, you're going to do everything that's possible to get to that point.
But that's because the business has blossomed so much too. There's so many people trying to get into it, and so many. So back in the day, you if you didn't train at Gil's Garage, there was hardly anything to go train. But hold on, real quick. I got to play a quick commercial, Superboy.
Sure.
And Candy, hang on just real quick.
No problem.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to lucha-masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at lucha-masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
You are listening to the Lucha Central Podcast Network. And now, WrestleBot with Bobby Chulo.
Man, I got to remember to book the whole hour for Superboy because there's so much that I want to talk about. But for the people listeners, you're here. You're at WrestleBoss with Bobby Chulo. I got Candy Girl co-hosting with me, and on the line with us now, Superboy. And we're talking a little bit about how you're getting into the business and really want to prosper and get your name out there and everything like that. But I remember when I was talking to Superboy. I think we're talking on the phone, and he was like, "Yeah," because he's getting ready to go to Japan. And I'm like, "Oh yeah, we're talking about it." He goes, "Well, you know what? They want to do this new gimmick, and they want to make me the ball." And I'm like, "The ball?" And he goes, "Yeah, kind of like a beach ball, because there were gimmicks big time back then, like Super Dolphin and all those guys." And I'm like, "Well, who cares, dude?" I go, "Shit, you're in Japan, be whatever they want." And you're like, "Okay." And I think that's when they ended up making you the convict or whatever out there. But then when he came back, he goes, "Hey, bro," he goes, "I got in trouble." And I go, "For what?" And he goes, "Well, this guy wanted my mask." And, I said, "Hey, well, how much does he want?" And he said, Naniwa Crab or somebody was translating and said, "Hey, the guy says that'll give you $500 for it." He goes, so I took my mask off and he goes, and they come running out and they throw it to him and he goes, "You don't take the mask off." And you go, "But I heard 500. I took my mask off." So for the people listening, that's how serious it is, the luchas in Japan. You don't show your face. The heels go on a different bus. And then talk a little bit about that.
Oh yeah, most definitely. It was really weird because from the first day of the tour the first tour I ever did, we just got off the train. We just walked like maybe 200 meters, where we were intercepted by the great Sasuke. He was driving in his car, and then he had the van where all the publicity, and he was in a mask, dude. He was in a mask talking on his cell phone. As soon as he saw it, everybody goes, hey, put your mask on. I go, "Dude, we're in the damn train station. Put your mask on." I was like, "Oh, fuck, okay." Dude, we went all the way to the place that the show was going to be. And all through the ride, we wore our mask. And I was like uncomfortable because, you're not used to wearing your mask 24/7, And so we got there, and dude, the people just got all around. You couldn't even get to the place once we got there, and it's a tradition that they have, and they're really really hardcore about that. We would go in the bus, and like 2 miles before you got to the place, you have to put on your mask inside the bus, and then we would pull over. And then another little bus would come and pick the heels up, and the heels drove on one side, and then we went on one car, and then the baby just went on another bus. That was, that's how much they protected the business, and it was just crazy, man. It was just crazy, especially when you're not used to.
But that's what I'm talking about. They take it serious over there. Here, it's a little more show, and it's a little different. But that's why I think that they're so successful out there with New Japan and all that, because they do take it so serious as sport. Because if you're not in shape and you go out there, they're gonna kick your ass, right?
Oh yeah, almost definitely, dude. They're unforgiving, dude. They're unforgiving. Like I say, we need an hour to talk. And I need to tell some stories that, of people just literally just getting their ass kicked because they weren't conditioning up. And, people were actually wrestlers that were crying, dude, because they couldn't take it. It was really hard. And you wrestle on a daily basis, every damn day.
Yeah. And we were talking about that because I was telling Candy Girl I could do one show for the weekend, and that's it. Because if I have to do back to back, it's not going to happen. But anyways, we definitely got to get you back on so we can talk a little bit more about that. And plus, the Sons are carrying on the tradition. It was funny because the first time I saw them wrestle, I'm like, oh my God, it's just like watching Superboy and Capitan Oro all over again. It's the same style. It's like and it's huge. And they know, when same thing like you were talking about, when they book them, it's going to be a show. They're going to put on a show. But anyways, unfortunately, we're running up against the clock. I got to get you back on so we can talk a little bit more about that. We can talk about Tocaito, when we used to flip for the beds in the hotel. Or when
definitely.
Yeah, when we used to take
my
the Bronx
offer to him
Bomber.
to go to Japan.
Yeah, for sure. All right. Hey, well, for the people listening, check out Superboy Torres. Just put Superboy Torres in your little search engine. everything comes up on there, and you can follow him on there. He's got stuff going on. He was doing the announcing and all the commentary and everything when we were at Inoki Dojo. So he just keeps going. It just keeps the tradition going on. So we definitely look forward to that. As soon as all this pandemic is over, hopefully we'll be able to see you at another show soon, and it'll be just a slamming time. Anytime I'm there and Superboy's there, it's like the best time I have, because all we do is just talk shit about how we used to do things back in the days and get beat up, and talk about the bomber. And, and all kinds of stuff like that. So we'll definitely have to talk about that. So, hey, I appreciate you coming on. Please tell the whole family, I said hi and all that. It's funny because I hate to sound like an old man, but I remember when your oldest son was going to preschool and we walked him over there for breakfast and everything. It was ridiculous. So, all right, Superboy.
Lucha-Mask.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you in partnership with Mask Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to lucha-mask.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at lucha-mask.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
If you're listening to this and you haven't visited luchacentral.com, it's time to do it. LuchaCentral.com is the online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all of the top news in English and in Spanish. Find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else. Find when Lucha Libre events would be happening in your area. Find photo galleries from top photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. From weekly polls to annual awards. Seen and read by top executives in all of the major Lucha Libre promotions across the globe. And on top of that, it's free. LuchaCentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre.
You know what? I have to apologize for that caller. For some reason, I don't know if the dude follows or whatever, but I don't want to give him too much publicity. But he's done that to me before, called or whatever. But for the people, if it's a serious inquiry and you want to talk about wrestling or wrestling-related topics, you can call 323-870-3387. It's funny because, I have pro wrestling, and then I have mixed martial arts and judo and jiu-jitsu, and I have a bunch of like UFC fighters and stuff like that. But for some reason, like they book themselves, or I have them booked, and then I'll call them and they won't answer. And I forget, most of the training, and everybody's gone back to training, they usually train between like 7 and 8 at night. So I tell them, hey, don't forget, I got you booked. Oh, yeah, I'm not going to forget, or whatever. And then I call and they don't answer. Or they call me the day before and go,
no.
Bro, I forgot that I have training or whatever. So let me let Ricky Mandel know that we're calling. I'm sorry, but I hate to do stuff like that on the air, but if not, then he won't pick up.
No, that's part of being live.
Yeah, exactly.
Not everybody does live for. Not everyone does live for a reason. So we just got to go with it.
That's part of being live, when people call and say stupid stuff like that or whatever. But it's happened before. I had we're going to talk about that later, because I had a few women on, mixed martial arts fighters and stuff like that, and that's happened before, where they ask them, start out cool, then ask them something silly, and I have to cut them off. But we're going to talk about that later on too, because for some reason, in the independent scene with the girls and all that, they've been having some problems. So I want to expand a little bit on that. I don't think anybody would do that to Candy Girl, because first of all, there's so many people like myself and Sean Black that kind of watch over them, and it all depends on the locker room too, man. You got to have a handle on that thing and make sure that you keep everything on the up and up. So let me give Ricky Mandel a quick call. Hopefully he's going to pick up and we can talk a little bit. Then hopefully, if Candy Girl, if you could stay on for a little while, we just want to run a couple of things by you real quick. Hey, Ricky Mandel, it's Fabiano. You're live on Fabi Chulo and Wrestle Boss. Are you there?
Fabi. I don't know no Fabi.
It's good. It's good to hear from you. I've been wanting to talk to Ricky Mandel for quite some time, because there's a lot to talk about. And only because I've been in the business for so long that I get to see these guys, like when they're up and coming, and then when they hit that big time, and I want to talk a little bit about that. But my co-host, I have Candy Girl with me. We've been talking to Superboy, and I forgot. So I'm so sorry, but not this time, since we got Ricky Mandel on. Candy Girl, say hi to Ricky Mandel real quick.
How's it going?
It's going well. How are you?
Good. Thank you for asking.
Good.
It's funny, because we were talking about the independent scene right now, well, first of all, there's nothing. Right now everybody's kind of on a hiatus, on a break. But we had a couple of really good shows right before the pandemic. Compton Mania had for lack of a better term, I hate to use this term, but like a backyard type of show. And it was pretty cool. It was packed and the people were hot. And then I went to go work the next day at Lucha Libre Alliance, where Ricky Mandel has worked, the Lucha Arena, which is in the middle of South Central LA, Florence in Maine. And you literally get dressed outside, where it's kind of, for another lack of a better term, junkyard type of thing. And then you come in. And it was on fire. Everything was that place was packed and everything was going good. Then this pandemic hits and just screws everything up. So I want to talk a little bit about, Lucha Underground and all that, of course. But at this moment, Ricky, how are things going for you so far? I can see, if everybody follows him on his social media, you've been training and, staying in shape. But I don't think I've ever seen you out of shape. But so right now, at this moment, with the pandemic, and we don't even know when we're going to be able to see another show come or whatever, how's everything going for you right about this time?
At this very moment, things are actually beginning to pick up again with training. So I'm able to go and at least get in the ring and work off ring rust or, what have you. But as far as shows go, obviously I see them popping up in various areas, but not a whole lot. So, as far as that goes, that's just like everybody else. You're kind of twiddling your thumbs wondering what's going on, not just with wrestling, but with the whole world in general.
Yeah, and are you still in Vegas or Henderson?
I am.
How is it out there? Because I got to tell you, man, I love Las Vegas. I love Henderson. When I worked for King of the Cage, we went out there a lot. We did a lot of shows at the East Side Cannery and things of that nature. And I can stand a couple of days. But after a couple of days, it's so goddamn hot out there. It's like, man, I'm going to head home or whatever. Does it take a while to get adjusted to that, or are you just so used to it, no big deal?
Okay, so the thing with Vegas is, as far as the heat goes, I'm okay with that. Believe it or not, I was that guy when I lived in California, would love to go to, like, Disneyland and amusement parks and what have you on those really hot days. The heat doesn't bother me. But believe it or not, it's the winter that gets me, because it's this dry, cold, and it just, goes through your bones. Now, keep in mind, I was born and raised in Illinois. So, and looking back, I remember I have pictures of me wearing shorts in the winter in Illinois. So that kind of says a lot. Well,
the only reason, because I'm fat, so I'm always got a T-shirt on. Ricky's always had abs and all that. So of course.
Bull.
No, I know when you were younger, but now, Ricky. That's why as soon as I see him, the abs. I tell him, go get dressed over there. We did a show for Ruben Iglesias, I think, or something. And I said, man, go get dressed over there. Don't even come anywhere near me. But talking about that, I want to talk a little bit about that too. When you wrestled Ziggy Dice over there for Ruben, but. Of course, when I said that I always like to announce my guests as soon as I get them locked in. I like to put it up because a lot of people, for some reason, they're afraid to call in or talk on the air. But they'll send me emails and they'll send me messages and stuff. And of course, all they talk about is Lucha Underground. Well, ask him about this. Ask him why he didn't do this and I'm like, okay, so. I don't know if you're tired of talking about it or whatever, but it does come up as soon as I say that I'm having you on, and everybody says the same thing. Now, me personally, I kind of thought it was cool, because you were doing the one gimmick with the mask and everything like that. But the Johnny Mundo thing, when you kind of played kind of craziness and kind of came, I thought they could really run with that. I don't know if it stopped kind of because it kind of got the season was over or whatever, but not just because you're here on the show and I have you on. I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought they could run with that a little bit more. So I want to talk about that, but talking about Lucha Underground, because we talk a lot about that here, but I just thought it was so different. I thought it was pretty cool. The thing I remember the most is when they just started, I don't know if it was the second or third season, and they had Vampiro on, and he was coming out of an insane asylum, and he's bald, and he has his shirt tucked up to the top, and they're showing him. They go, "Do you have any thoughts of suicide?" And he goes, "No." And they show him just getting hit with some light tubes and bleeding all over, and it was just really cool. I thought it was cool. So, talk a little bit about that. First of all, when they approached you and said, "Look, I think this is what we want to do. We want to make you Ricky Mundo or whatever." I know you don't want to go, "Well, that's not what I want to do. I want to do." So, talk a little bit about how that all came about. and because regardless of whatever, it's kind of propelled you into like at the upper echelon of the lucha scene. So talk a little bit about that because the people just want to know.
For sure. So that actually started when they came to me with Trece when I was doing the Disciples of Death stuff, and we had our our little run with that. That ran its course, and then right before we shot the scene where Trece gets killed, they sent me the script for it, and I read this thing, and it's like, okay, and then blah blah blah. Trece gets his heart ripped out and dies. And I'm like, okay, well, what is this? Okay, sweet, nice. Okay, now am I out of a job?
0 to 100,
Yeah. So I'm sitting there, and I had like maybe a week before this scene. So I'm thinking, okay, I can't go into this production or this shot without some type of plan or an idea, something to pitch to them for myself. So I'm sitting there like, and at the time I was still doing Mirror Image, Ricky Mandel on the Indies.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking like, do I bring the Mirror Image to Lucha Underground? Does that work? Can I just be like sexy, cocky heel? I mean, do they want that? What can I do? And I had just watched a documentary on Child's Play, Chucky.
Right.
And how all the animatronics of the doll worked. And I was just like, oh, that's so cool. Okay. But in the same breath, I had read an article on like the 10 spookiest places in the world or whatever, and one of them was the Island of the Dolls. So as I'm going to bed that night, it was so strange. I'm like drifting asleep, drifting off, blah, 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 here we go. Right before I go to bed, my eyes shoot open, and I still remember this. My eyes shoot open with this vision of me walking to the ring with a doll. And I'm like, don't ask me where it came from. But I was just like, man, like, that would be something cool. So then all of a sudden I start coming up with all these ideas of how, like, well, Lucha Underground is probably the only place that we could have a doll come to life and torture me and do, all these, like, weird demonic things. So over the course of that week, I'm, like, coming up with all these ideas and just keep coming to me. And by the time I got to the shot for the vignette for Killing of Trece, they actually pulled me into the production room to tell me, like, okay, this is what's happening. And they actually told me, okay, yeah, we're killing off Trece, but just so you know, like, we love you. We think you're great. You're young. You're only getting better. As long as Lucha Underground's around, you'll always have a job. And I'm just like, okay, worried over nothing. Cool.
Right.
But I was just like, okay, can I talk to you guys about this idea I have? And they're like, yeah, sure. Nobody really comes to us with ideas. Like, please tell us. So I pitched them my whole idea for the doll. And they said they loved it. And they go, and I think this was during season 2.
Right.
Yeah, this was during season 2. So they pretty much said, all right, we can't do anything about it this season, but maybe season 3 or 4. Like, okay, that's fair. And then it was Chris DeJoseph, actually.
Right.
And he was the one who said, but in the meantime, we actually had another idea for you. And I go, okay, well, what's that? He goes, we want you to be like a mini Morrison. He's like, you look just like him. And I'm sitting there like, what? The most ripped guy in wrestling? I look just, okay, well, I must have like a body dysmorphia or something. But
yeah, sure.
Yeah.
That's what I'm saying. They ain't going to ask me to do that spot, that's for sure. That's right. It's get to these in shape.
But they started pitching just little ideas, which actually none of them happened, the ideas they threw at me. But still, it was the idea behind you're going to be John's like mini-me and like
and I
like
gotta
devoted
add
to him.
And I got to add, because about, I think 3 or 4 years ago, we worked a couple shows for Maverick. I was during the locker room, and also for Tesla Pro. And I remember looking at you and saying, he looks like John Morrison. So I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, how you take that, but it is what people just kind of code to, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Which is pretty cool, because then you kind of ran with it.
No, Well, that's the thing. Like, I mean, like growing up and seeing, John on TV, I even told him this before. I was like, you're one of my inspirations for getting in shape.
Right.
Because I remember doing a backstage. This is like long before I knew him, but doing Raw backstage. And, obviously you see the guys on TV and they look completely different than they do in person. And when I seen them in person, I was like, holy hell, dude, like, man, like, this guy's jacked and he's ripped. Like, I want to be like that, So it was a big inspiration. Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, it was just a huge inspiration to, like, get my ass in gear and, start training. And a few years later, you're going to be as me. Okay.
Well, so I thought that was pretty cool. So did all that, first of all, on the last season, because we had Ricky Reyes on, and he said the same thing. He's like, dude, it was just starting to peak. I would have liked to have seen a closing. Like, this happens to us, and, Cortez Castro ends up getting killed by the police or something. So he said, I wish it would have went on one more season so we could have closed it or whatever. But he said they kind of left the door open because they don't know if they might do another season. So far, okay, let's say on your last day, they go, all right, man, this is the last taping. We don't know if we're going to be renewed or whatever. How does that work on the last day?
Honestly, okay, it was really strange because from what I remember, now all this might be a little off, so don't like fully quote me on it, but from what I remember, I was under the impression that we did season 4, and during the first night of Ultima Lucha, I could have swore I heard somebody say, oh, the network here, and they want to renew. They want to continue the season. And we're like, well, this is Ultima Lucha. This is it. This is the end of the season. We can't just film more.
Right.
So, and then I heard, okay, well, then season 5 is going to be a longer season, because season 4 was really short. I think it was like 22 episodes.
Yeah.
And then like season 1 was like 40-something, maybe even 50. So from what I understand, like season 5 was supposed to be something like that. And, we're like waiting around. So kind of fast forward a few months and now years, but, we're like waiting around for like season 5 to come along, but it just never, to answer your question, I guess I was just like for a little bit under the impression that it was kind of just going to happen.
Yeah.
So I was just like, okay, cool. Like maybe take a few months off. Because I remember season 1, I shot season 1, and then it seemed like it took forever to get to season 2. But when we got to season 2, it seemed like season 3 started right away. And then there was some time in between season 3 and 4 that by the time that happened, I was kind of like, okay, like they obviously see we have something here. Yeah. Maybe like season 5 will just like kick off just like that. But I mean, here we are.
It would have been nice. Well, look, let me do a public service announcement right here. Okay, hang on one second.
Sure.
Christy Joseph, let's go, buddy. Bring it back. We got to get some closure on this whole thing. I thought it was really cool. So this is from Fabi Chulo. Let's get one more season going so we can close the book. If we have to close the book. If we want to keep going, that's cool too. All right, man. There you go, Ricky. I took care of it. Don't even worry about it. But
and Fabi's king. Fabi's king, right?
Right. Yeah, don't forget about that. We'll make sure. Well, real quick, because we're running up against the clock, but this is why I thought Lucha Underground was cool, because back then when they first started, they had a media day, and I was working for strictly MMA radio show that did jiu-jitsu and all that stuff, and they called my boss and say, hey, look, we looked at your thing and we see you got like over 50,000 listeners and all that. Can you send somebody down, send Bobby down so we can have him on our media day? And I thought that's smart, because they don't care if you're just strictly whatever to come down. So I went down for that media day. We're only allowed to talk to certain people. We're only allowed to talk to Morrison and Conan and Chavo and them. But I thought that's smart. They're reaching out. And when I talked to, I don't think it was Curtis to Joseph. It was the other guy, Rodriguez or somebody. I can't remember because it was so long ago. But he said, hey, look, man, if 6 people if I get 6 people to watch the show just from you or whatever, that's 6 people I didn't have. And I was like, man, this guy's smart, man. He knows what he's talking about. So that's why I thought it was pretty cool that they reached out and did stuff like that to try to make it work. But unfortunately, Ricky, we're running up against the clock. I got to maybe get you back on so we can talk a little bit about the independent scene, because I wanted to talk a little bit about when I saw you at Ruben's show, because I hadn't seen you for a while or whatever. And it was just like, the same thing. I was like, man, guy's never out of shape. He's really, working. He's taking the sport serious. You know what I mean? And I had a good time.
Absolutely.
I think I was in the battle royal or something, so I just acted like a fool. But I just had such a good time. And then you wrestled Ziggy Dice, and Nicolette came out and she did the turn and the doll and the doll flipped.
That's right.
And all that. It was a trip. It was really cool. So definitely got to get you back on so we can talk a little bit about that. I want to talk about Scene Bodai, and I wanted to talk about so many different people, because I think Scene Bodai is one of the most underrated teachers and workers, because I saw him working. I was like, man, this guy, you could just tell he knows what to do. So we'll definitely got to get you back on for that. Now, for the people listening, your social media, is it under Richard Matthey or Ricky Mandel, or what can the people check it out?
Facebook is under my real name, yes, Richard Matthey. Everything else, Twitter and Instagram, is Ricky_Mandel.
Okay, perfect. So we'll definitely get you back on so we could talk a little bit more about that. For the people listeners, check him out on all his social media. Keeps everybody up to date, with everything that's going on. I think it's just a matter of time till the wrestling comes back, and hopefully we'll get you back down here, so we can see you out here, because I like to travel. Well, Vegas, I shouldn't say that. I can make a whole weekend in Vegas and just go out there and go check out the wrestling or whatever and come back. So we'll definitely do that. So we'll get you back on for sure pretty soon. For the people listeners, make sure you check out Ricky Mandel. He's got a lot going on. Candy Girl, can you hang on for just a little while longer?
Sure.
Okay, perfect. We'll be right back after this. Ricky Mandel, everybody, make sure you check him out.
Why should you visit thechairshot.com? Thechairshot.com is your home for hard-hitting reviews, news, opinion, and analysis with attitude. Why? Because you're smarter than the average fan. Thechairshot.com. Always use your head.
Lucha-Masks.com by Pro Wrestling Revolution, bringing you, in partnership with Masked Republic, the Lucha Brothers, as well as Japanese legend Ultimo Dragon. Go to Lucha-Masks.com and fight Lucha Strong with masks from your favorite Lucha legends and Pro Wrestling Revolution luchadores. Stay safe in style and represent your favorite luchador. Get yours now at Lucha-Masks.com, powered by Pro Wrestling Revolution.
Okay, Candy dropped real quick, so I'm going to give her another call real quick. Sorry about that. At least the whole thing didn't drop this time. So let me just. We're going to call her back right now. Get her back on here. Hopefully everybody can still hear me. All the commercials are going, so we should be okay.
All right, Candy Girl here.
Are you still there? So you know what? When he dropped off, it took yours off too from that, but we're okay. We're still on the air. Everything's still good. It's cool because it went through the commercial. But real quick for the people listeners, you're here. You're at WrestleBoss with Fabi Chulo. Just got finished talking to Ricky Mandel, and I got Candy Girl here with me. She's the what's the word I'm looking for? The interim co-host while we're working on something. It's funny because I've been doing this for such a long time, and I've had like producers, and I'm like, as long as I got a producer, I'm cool. I can bounce stuff off of them or whatever. So when I came over here, I'm running my own board and everything. So I did the first show, I think, or one or two shows, and Kevin says, hey, man, why don't you see if you can get a female co-host? And I said, no, I got it. I go, it's just going to take me a minute to get used to the board. He said, well, just try a few people out, and then we'll go from there. Okay. As soon as I had a female co-host, the ratings just went through the roof. Just started spiking. I'm like, man, Kevin knows what he's talking about, because, you know, you can hear me talk all day, but then they hear a female come on and give their point of view for the demographic, which is like 18 to 40-year-old males. You know, Kevin knows what he's talking about. So we have Candy Girl with us here today. Just got finished talking to Ricky Mandel, talked to Superboy in the first at the 15-minute mark or whatever. But as you can see, Candy, as we get going, you know, the time goes by so fast. You know, so we might have to
flies by.
Spread them out a little bit more and do a little bit more talking. So before we get out of here, I wanted to talk a little bit. The hot topic right now is, I don't know where this came from. They said that a lot of the women have been treated I don't want to say like badly or whatever, but I guess a little bit different. They've been treated a little bit harder, like, no, you're going to do this, and you're going to do what I say, and I don't know, some sort of hazing or anything that's going on. I personally, I haven't seen it. I'm pretty sure that crap go around when I'm around, because I'll put an end to it. I don't care. Hey, man, I'm in my 50s, but if I see that stuff going on, I'm going to say something or whatever. And Sean Black, he seems the same way. He's a righteous dude. He doesn't play that stuff.
Yeah,
There's promoters out there that don't care, or whatever. So from your point of view now, have you experienced anything like that, or have you heard anything about that? Because it's been huge in the SoCal scene.
Yeah, I think for people that maybe are not in tune to what's going on is, Hollywood had the hashtag Me Too movement, and wrestling right now is having the hashtag Speaking Out movement, which is kind of following the same thing. And I think what people forget is that wrestling is real life, and whether we see it or not, women are treated differently on the daily. And, there's people won't do things that they think they won't get away with. So that's probably why you have never seen things in front of you, because people know that if they did something shady or wrong, that you would speak up. So I think that's the key, and why everyone's exposure is so different, and why it's such a shock to many people, because a lot of these allegations and a lot of what's coming to light is just so wrong, and it just goes so deep, and it just goes beyond wrestling, right? We have to protect our women. We have to protect our girls. We have to protect each other as human beings first. The world gives us enough to deal with, pandemic, cancer, illness, natural disasters. Like, to think that we do this to each other on purpose is it's just a lot bit. Unfortunately, I am a woman. I'm proud to be a woman, but I do understand the realities that I've learned to navigate. And I do want to just shine light on how brave it is for these women to speak up and say their story, because it's very hard to deal with the truth. And sometimes as women, we push things under the rug just because we're strong, but just because we're strong doesn't mean that we have to take things that are unfair. So I think that that's a movement that's happening in wrestling, and it's happening all over the world. But I want to make sure that I emphasize how brave the women are that are speaking up. And change is always scary for a lot of people, but people need to have hope and faith that things are changing for the better. So I personally, my experiences with wrestling, I've been so blessed to have great trainers, Brian Kendrick as my trainer from day one, Jesse Hernandez, where I debuted with EWF. Like, I've been so lucky to have great trainers, to have great people to, look out for me and give me advice. So I'm very grateful for that. But even with that, there's still a lot of things that we have to deal with. So I understand, but I am just so grateful for the women that speak up. And we're in a pandemic, so this is such a weird time to see what's going to happen when we go back. So I think this is one of the things that we're just going to have to see what comes to light and then deal with it after.
Yeah, and, first of all, I don't get it. I don't, because I've done many shows. Let me tell you this. I did a show in Torrance, in the city of Torrance, at the Elks Lodge. And this is when women's wrestling wasn't like it was today. We're talking, this was early 2000, maybe 2001 or 2002. And I had Sarah Del Rey come and work for me. I can't remember who I put her again. But she lit that place up. I mean, she was over like Rover. So my thing was, I wanted to come back. I mean, this girl's money. So I made sure she was taken care of, money-wise and whatever.
Great.
She needed, because I wanted her to come back. So as somebody who puts a show on or whatever, I don't want anybody giving her a hard time or, anything like that. So I just don't understand why that would happen in this business. Now, well, I brought her back and same thing, sold out. I mean, it was just, she ended up going on to be one of the trainers at the Performance Center. But even before when she went to Shimmer or whatever, I was constantly trying to get her back over here because she was money. So,
and she's amazing. And that's the thing that because a lot of men don't think like that. They don't imagine how it could happen. But I think what the teachable moment is here is that there are people that think like that. So that's why we need those extra eyes to look out and have our backs, because that is unfortunately a pressure, not just in wrestling, but in show business and truly in life. And this is something that I learned very young in my life, a lot younger than I feel that I should have.
Yeah.
But just to your point that because you don't think like that, you don't see it, and that's why it's so important that we start to open our eyes that other people do, and that way we can start to navigate and move a little bit differently and create, whether it's policies or change, where inherently it will help protect, especially those most vulnerable, which is the female wrestlers, the LGBTQ, things like that are inherently right now feeling a lot of unequal pressure.
The point, too, that I was trying to make, because even with the male wrestlers, if I put on a show and let's say Sarah Del Rey, is at Shimmer and I try to book somebody else. So the girl goes up to Sarah and says, hey, this guy Fabiano wants me to work for me. Dude, go. He'll take care of you. I don't want to say, dude, I had a horrible experience, take your chance or whatever. So that part of it.
Right.
I do kind of get it because I've had partners and I've had people that are wrestlers that are on steroids and stuff like that, and they get the rage, and I've had to literally, grab and say, hey, dude, pull it back, dude. You got to take it easy. Not even just with the women, but with the men. You potato somebody, they're not going to let us come back. You got to take it down a notch. So I kind of see, where it is. I haven't seen it with women. I've seen it with men where I have to pull them back or whatever. But to me, it's if you're out there, if you're a promoter or a worker or whatever, you can't do that, man, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to get that rep, and they'll blackball your ass in a minute. They're going to say, hey, this guy doesn't know how to act in the locker room. I saw him yelling at women, whatever. You're done. And then that's it. So it's a struggle enough to get to the top as it is. Why you'd want to bog yourself down with something like that, I have no idea. But real quick before we get out of here, you've been. I got to tell you, not that I forgot about you, but I've been working with some different promoters that have been trying to put some shows together. And the first thing they say is, "Hey, man, we'd like to get a girls' match." And I'm like, "Well, I know Lady Cynthia, but I don't know if there's somebody she could work with it." And then when I said, "Oh, Candy Girl's going to come and close," I go, completely forgot. We got to put her on a show. So there is some stuff that's in the future. So hopefully we can get Candy Girl booked on this show. I've been working with the United Wrestling Council or whatever. So hopefully, we can get her over there so you guys can see her. Hopefully, once this pandemic's over, Compton Mania, Amped Up. What other companies have you been working for? I know I saw you at EWF. I think I just went to go see the show. What other companies have you been working for?
Yeah, I'm very lucky. I've got to work with different shows. But EWF was where I debuted, so it would always be my home. Yeah. But I've been working a lot with UEW, and they've challenged me in a different way with different types of matches. I've had a body bag match. I've had a women's tournament. Also Dungeon Championship Wrestling. Also Maverick Pro. Also amazing. So I've been very lucky. I've been able to travel also to Mexico too. I think that's one of the beautiful things that I've got really early on in my career, and I know it's because of I was in good hands from day one with Brian Kendrick. Yeah. So I'm just excited to train more and more places, and to work in more and more places, because the women's wrestling is going up, but it needs to not be an exception. It needs to be the standard.
Yes, I would agree with that. Well, we look forward to it. We look forward to checking out some of the shows for the people that are listeners. If you put, do you want to put your social media and stuff out there, because it's not under Candy Girl, it's under your real name. So even that. So I'm sorry to expand on that. With all this going on, when I talked to Candy Girl and said, hey, I want to bring you on to co-host or whatever, and I did this with Taya Valkyrie too. I said, hey, if you give me your phone number, we can call you and you'll be on there. I said, but if you're uncomfortable, please, we can have you call in, because, as a woman, you might not want to give your number out because you don't know just like this knucklehead that called while we're on the air. So you have to take precautions. Even we have to take precautions because we don't know, because it's just dumb. I'm sorry for what it is or whatever. So why don't you give us your social media so that people can follow you, and then when you're booked on the shows, they can see you at the shows, and we can get that place packed.
Yeah, and I appreciate the consideration, because so many people, if they wonder why girls are so cautious, they go, oh, she's stuck up or this. No, we just have to do things differently. We're scared.
Right.
On Twitter and Instagram, it's _the_Candy Girl.
The underscore Candy Girl. Okay.
So underscore the underscore Candy Girl. Mm-hmm.
Underscore the underscore Candy Girl.
Yeah.
Okay, got it.
All things sweet.
We're live right now. But after everything's done, everything goes to the Lucha Central. They clean it all up and everything and put it out. It's on iTunes. It's on Spotify. It's on all that. So Kevin Kleinrock works so hard to get everything out there. He puts it out there and makes sure that everybody gets to listen to it. So it's good to have you on. Greg DeMarco, everything gets sent to him. He helps clean it up. Like I was telling earlier, I got completely cut off the air on the last one, so he was able to help me out and clean that up for me. So I appreciate those guys. So for the people listeners, don't forget to check out Candy Girl. Hey, Amain, thank you for coming on. I think you got something here. I think it went really well.
I think so too. I've had a nice time. Thank you for thinking of me, and I'm just excited to have more and more spotlight on what we're trying to do here.
I agree 100%. So for the people listeners, don't forget, you can check us out every Tuesday live, and then after that, they clean everything up. Wednesday comes out on Spotify, iTunes, and all the major things that Lucha Central comes out to. A big thanks to Candy Girl for coming on. We'll see everybody right here next week on Tuesday. Hey, Candy Girl, appreciate you coming on. We'll see you soon, okay?
Take care.
All right.
If you're listening to this and you haven't visited luchacentral.com, it's time to do it. luchacentral.com is the online home for Lucha Libre, where you can get all of the top news in English and in Spanish. Find the best curated video content and original content not seen anywhere else. Find when Lucha Libre events would be happening in your area. Find photo galleries from top photographers covering Lucha Libre around the world. From weekly polls to annual awards. Seen and read by top executives in all of the major Lucha Libre promotions across the globe. And on top of that, it's free. LuchaCentral.com, your centralized place for all things Lucha Libre.